Hello everyone! It is Marjoram of Sage and Marjoram, back with another weaving video. So this time we are looking at my first twill ever. Last time we were looking at my twill gamp, but I wanted to go back to the very beginning and show you all what I started with. So you can see there a little bit of my supplies, a couple of my supplies I should say. And we're starting off by warping. So for a while now, I've been using my Ashford rigid heddle loom, the 24-inch variant, as my warping board. I don't really have a lot of horizontal surfaces right now. I have space for them, but I don't really have too many, and so I warp on my bed on my rigid heddle loom, and it works well. And you can probably not really tell right now, but I'm actually warping in 3 different colors. There are 3 darker shades of colors that I found in my weft yarn, and I warped them in a Fibonacci sequence. So increasing and then decreasing, not necessarily in a gradient because I used 3 colors, but I just wanted some interest in the background. So this is my loom. Again, this was my first time ever weaving on it. I guess I did like a tiny sampler that was maybe 4 or 5 inches wide just to get a feel for it and make sure that I built it correctly. But this was my first time doing a full-fledged project on it. I'd only ever worked on a multi-shaft loom in a studio before, and this was years ago. So it was really nice after so many years of watching others and really wanting a loom of my own to be able to purchase one. At the end of December, thanks to everyone who pitched in and bought from my holiday shop sale, I sold a bunch of soaps, I sold a bunch of scarves, and I was able to use those funds along with some Christmas and birthday money to purchase this loom. So you can see what I'm doing here. I apologize for any lighting changes because the sun was setting on me, but what I'm doing here is just tying on to the back, and then I am winding on my warp through my rattle. And that's my only dislike of this loom, is the rattle, I would say. I think everything else is wonderful. It folds down. It was very affordable compared to many multi-shaft looms. This was so affordable. And it's portable, it's really lightweight, but still extremely strong. Like, I've been able to weave very high tension projects on it. I just finished some high tension cotton weaving this morning. But at the same time, it is something that I think will be a very good investment. I got the 20-inch, which is the 50-centimeter variant, because I wanted the option to weave wider. And, you know, if I do some double weave, I could go even wider, up to 40 inches. But I thought it was a nice investment. And you can see what I'm doing here is I am just threading the heddles. I really like that these are Texsolve heddles. I've changed my threading process now, but when I first started, I was just pushing the thread through the heddles with my fingers. I have adapted now to using my Kromsky hook. It's my favorite threading / reed hook, and it works really well with these. It has a super teeny tiny threading side, and so I use that to get everything through the Texsolve heddles easily, and it's also ergonomically shaped. It came with my Kromsky Presto. So you can see here I'm stopping every now and then, and I'm just double checking that I'm actually doing the pattern correctly. And then here we are going to get ready to tie on to the front. I didn't film going through the reed because it would just be another step that I was doing that probably everyone knows how to do. And I just slayed this at 10 ends per inch in a 10 end per inch reed. So For this one, I decided to lash on rather than tying on. And you'll see I do a couple of things differently depending on the project. But for this one, I decided to lash on. There you can see what I'm doing is I'm just checking for any crossed yarns. I didn't check the night before, so I thought I should just check now and make sure before I actually go through and tie things on. Better to check a couple times just to make certain. And there you can see what I did is I went around the front beam. I almost forgot. And that would not have been fun if I had accidentally tied straight onto the cloth beam. So I don't know if I actually mentioned, but the warp is a 70% merino, 30% silk blend. And it's an odd yarn. It feels in some ways like it behaves like wool, and in other ways it behaves much more like a stiffer like cotton, if that makes sense. Like it's very plush, but there's really not a lot of give in this. It feels like it knows its limits and it won't let you pass them, whereas a lot of wool is very stretchy, very bouncy. I think that the finished product is pretty bouncy, but working with the yarn, this merino silk blend is actually pretty tough. So you can see here I'm lashing on. This is my first time lashing on to this loom, and it was a bit of a moment. It took me some time, and I ended up adjusting and winding more of my warp onto the back beam so I had more room to lash on with the actual cotton thread that I was using. There I am checking again, just making sure everything is all set, and also getting used to my levers here, or I guess they call them toggles when I watch the Luette video while assembling. Okay, so here I am using some of my bulky yarn again just to spread the warp. And you can also see I was like, I need to be delicate with this loom, but I feel like now I've got it broken in and I'm just like, I just weave away. The toggles are really strong. Everything is really sturdy. I think I was just nervous. I was like, oh my gosh, let me not mess up this brand new loom that I just spent hours building and spent hundreds of dollars on. And I didn't. And I also I'll mention when it comes up, but there are a couple of things that I do while I'm weaving this first time that I don't do anymore. And it's because of a couple of different things I've learned, whether it's from courses at the School of Sweet Georgia or at Jane Stafford's online weaving guild, or from like just practice. So the first thing you saw me do just there. So this is something that I think is so odd, and it's like a me thing. I was convinced, because I hadn't ever owned a boat shuttle either. I was like, obviously the logo is supposed to face me. That's the front of it, but it's not. It might be, but in practice, the slot should be facing you from what I have gleaned. And you can see I swapped over there and I started using the slot facing the front rather than the logo. That was something that I hadn't thought of. I had watched, many people weave and watched how they throw their shuttles, and it just never occurred to me to look at which side the thread was coming out. Of course, when inserting the thread, I knew that I wanted my bobbins to feed off the bottom rather than coming over the top, but I didn't know, I want the slot facing me. So that was something that I learned. And then you can see what I'm doing here after I just wove about an inch of tabby. What I'm doing is I'm going in and I'm hem stitching on the loom. I like doing this because then it gives me the option to, if I want to, I can twist the fringe. If not, when I take it off the loom, I'm basically done. I don't really go back and tie knots if I hem stitch. And so I just like doing it. It feels much more secure to me when coming off the loom as well. I don't have to worry about the end threads just coming apart. And you can kind of see some of the colors there. This is a really nice superwash wool that I'm using for the weft, and it's in these gorgeous like mermaid colors. They're really, really nice colors, I think. Okay, now it's time to actually weave the twill. And so I think I called this Lost Unicorn because of the colors. They're like super mermaidy unicorn colors. And I chose a pattern. I just wanted something interesting. I just wanted an easy twill, so it's mostly, I think it's just a straight draw. I'm pretty sure it's just a straight draw, but I wanted something that didn't necessarily return to center, so I tried to come up with my own treadling, or in my case, a lift plan that would not take me back to center. Like I didn't want zigzags. I didn't want just like plain twill going straight across. So I ended up doing an unbalanced, well, I shouldn't say unbalanced. I'm going for a balanced cloth for the most part, but I'm going for an irregular twill. I believe that's the wording I'm looking for if I refer to my Weaver's pattern directory. So there you can see I'm just showing the change from tabby going straight across to the twill going up in diagonal. And that's how you know that you have swapped over to twill. It's the same like if you look at blue jeans versus like a plain weave cotton sheet, whether it's diagonal or straight across, you can tell the difference. And so there you can see what I'm talking about. I was doing these zigzags that are more tilted to one direction than the other. And you can see, maybe I'm going pretty quick. What I'm doing is after I throw my shuttle, I'm holding the reed and changing shed while I'm holding it. And I did that in this project for a specific reason. So these yarns are both very slippery. So when I started beading and then I would pull the reed back, my weft yarn would just go back with it. It wouldn't stay in place. It's because of the silk and merino and the warp and then the weft yarn being superwash. It was just a very slippery project. So I'm not sure if this was a great first fiber choice. However, I'm very happy with the end product. And you'll see here too, I did something which I'm not sure that I needed to do. I numbered my bobbins because this was a hand-painted yarn and I wanted everything to line up perfectly, but it was really not that important because the hand painting made the yarn pool in different ways and really just led to some interesting patterns in color. I'm not sure that it really mattered that I matched them up. Okay, so here I'm getting to the end and I still had lots of warp because I always wind on extra. So I decided to use some of the warp yarn as weft just to play. I just wanted to see like what else can I do at the end. So I did. And again, here it is late at night, so I changed lighting and I apologize. But I just wanted to see what happened. I wove this all in one day. And here you can see I was playing with different colors. I was doing combos, like interchanging them. And then here comes the actual body of the work. Now, my camera did not like the squiggles combined with the alternating colors. It couldn't focus on the pattern or pick a color range to be in. But I got it to work out later on the next day for the most part. Yeah, so here it is the next morning. I let it sit overnight without doing anything to it. I didn't finish it or anything. This is it still just fresh off the loom, but you can see just how soft the combination of these two really smooth yarns is. Like the drape on these is wonderful. And I'm saying that because I also beat in firmer than 10 picks per inch. And I did that because my weft yarn was thinner than my warp yarn. And even with that, it was still super, super duper drapey. And then here you can see, this is where I was just playing with color. You could definitely see more color play if I did this in tabby, but I just wanted to see, you know, how does striping work? That one section that looks very like squiggly, I was playing with 2 yarns alternating. And that was it. That was the end of the project. Now what I'm showing you is I kept that tied on here because I thought I would be using these next colors, that orange, this super duper berry color, and this other hand paint. I was like, let me just do one more project before I start the School of Sweet Georgia course. And it was a waste. I took it off. I didn't keep it tied on. I cut off that warp at the back and I did an entirely different threading because I was feeling it, and I still am. That's why I'm still weaving so much. I finished a bunch of projects in January, but I actually went back and I did another twill scarf in a completely different pattern. Yeah. So I guess that's it. Thank you all so much for watching. There are photos of this project over on my Instagram, as well as on my website, sageandmarjoram.com, and I'll have links to all of that below. Thank you for joining me for my first twill ever. I hope that you have been crafting along, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.